The president have said, now away from the censure motion, let's talk about the impeachment in itself. The allies of the deputy president have said they will do whatever they can to ensure that it does not see the light of day, including going to court. Now, legally speaking, take us through what all this particular process entails. Because if that motion sees the light of day, Parliament approves it, if they have the requisite numbers to approve it, it goes to the Senate, they discuss it. Can the DP thwart the entire impeachment motion through the courts?
Of course, the right to legal redress is always recognized and part of any process. And at any given time, if Gachagua or his people so desire, they can challenge any stage of that entire impeachment, even the outcome, once it is concluded. And the courts have a responsibility to oversight, to adjudicate over any dispute that may arise from a parliamentary process. And they've done so on so many occasions. So regarding Gachagua and his people have a right to challenge any part of the process, even the tabling of that motion, the process of voting, the resolution of the House once it is passed. They can always challenge it at any given time because there are serious causes of action that will arise. Depending on if the process adheres to the law or meet the threshold as required in the Constitution. So that if it is just a flimsy, because there's what we call political talk. If Gachagua is trying to excite his poor villagers by saying maybe the Seguze Murima, I mean, will you waste the nation's time to bring an impeachment of someone who is just happy with his poor villagers, trying to excite them? Or will you rather focus on somebody who has given members of parliament, TSC, employment letters they are working with in their pockets and dishing out in funerals? So who is the enemy of Kenyans? Who is practicing tribalism? To me, I believe this person who has disenfranchised many teachers who are qualified by denying them an opportunity to get employment when they qualify, and you give it to your political acolytes to appear in funerals and distribute employment letters. I mean, then you want us to focus on Gachagua, whose only mistake is to tell his villagers, I'm protecting your interests, don't guza mulima. We must be serious in this country. The problems in this nation are not regarding Gachagua. The problem of this country is William Ruto, followed by Rigathi Gachagua. And if we want to change the trajectory of governance here, removing Gachagua will not solve the problem. The head is still there, which is William Ruto. We must cut off that head as well and remove the head and its principal assistant. Because the governance issues that have been raised in this nation, when it comes to the bigger scheme of things, regard these sins is incomparable to William Ruto's. Because what is accused of, I call it political talk. Someone exciting his poor villagers or engaging in idle talk, stories ajaba. That is what you want to bring to us, that now we discuss the conduct of a deputy president. Let's focus on the one that is impacting on people's lives. Some people have died here. Teachers are not being employed here. The health sector is in shambles. Court orders are not being obeyed. And the person superintending over that executive, I'm very clear with my words, is the ultimate person who superintends over the executive that is causing all these things. Okay. It should not be there. That's the one we should be discussing today. Not Rigathi Gachagua, whose relevance in office, because even if you save Rigathi Gachagua today, it's not that he's going to champion for the people of Kenya. You will still continue being William Ruto's praise singer. This is actually a shitting contest in Kenya Kwanza. Who will praise Ruto more? Is it Gachagua or is it Kindiki? Is it Ichungwa? We don't care about that. Okay. Because the problem is the person who they are all angling to praise that is causing pain to the people of Kenya.
Thank you very much, Wakili. Mr. Sosion, while all this goes on, the censure motion, the impeachment motion, the president's silence is too loud.
And the better, because the president should not wade into this type of confrontation and conflict that involves his own debut. And the president is very focused in implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Is an urgent calling with its respective pillars. And so getting diverted to wade into debates of the conduct of his own officers in government. Remember, the president does not only have the deputy in government, in the executive. There are many. There are cabinet secretaries, there are PSS, there are heads of parastatal institutions, and many, and the entire workforce in the civil service. And all these personnel are expected to deliver on the president's agenda. And unlike his predecessor, of course, Uhuru Kenyatta was very bold to go out publicly attacking his own deputy in a manner that was very, very unhealthy. But what we are having at the moment here, and which, of course, Willis is being cheeky and is cherry-picking on this particular item. If we are talking about governance, and we brought a constitution, this constitution was not brought for window dressing. It was brought and it must be made to work. If we want good governance in this country, there should be no cherry-picking. Everyone is subject to the constitution. And I would say, yes, impeachment, everybody is impeachable in this country, from the president to the deputy and to the cabinet secretaries. Even members of parliament can be recalled. Everyone is subject. And we made a constitution that gives people power. And you see, when an impeachment motion is filed, it is the people of Kenya filing it through their elected representatives. You are a member of the bar, no, of the bar. Nobody is going to stop you from doing what you want to do in court. You will file your pleadings on behalf of clients or by yourself. That is your right given in the Constitution. The legislature also has its own right to do anything within the framework of oversight. Any impeachment motion is brought under the framework of oversight of members of parliament. And a member of parliament can originate that motion, draft it properly, and then have it signed by 117 members legitimately sworn in to operate in that National Assembly to support it. And if it meets that threshold, then it moves to the next level to be approved by the Speaker, and it is brought to the Senate. Why are we interested in stopping institutions from working? We can, this week, have an impeachment motion against the Deputy President. Next week, we have an impeachment motion against the President. The other week, we have... There is nothing wrong with that. Let's live by let's live by what we have in the Constitution. And by the way, this is going to elevate the power of checks and balances in our Constitution. Because I don't want to speak about what the Deputy President has spoken about everywhere and elsewhere, but I said last week in another media house, if you look at the tribulations of the Deputy President, it begins in Mount Kenya and it ends in Mount Kenya. He is at war with members of parliament of Mount Kenya, and he is at war even with some of members, prominent leaders from Mount Kenya who are part of Kenya Kwanza administration. And that is a conflict. And you see...
There are concerns that the MPs from Mount Kenya have directives from the head of state.
No.
Those are concerns.
Those are mere imagination. By the way, Willis allow me to conclude.
I was not discussing the question of the rights of a member of parliament oversight. I agree. I was just discussing in terms of principle and the benefit to the people of Kenya. Where we are today, between William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, who has committed grave violations of our constitution that we should start with. And as I said, we go for William Ruto and then we go for Rigathi Gachagua.
Now, fair and square, as he may wish, because nobody is immune from impeachment or censure motion. We have started with censure at the Senate. That's okay. Let it gain a life of its own. And you think it is linked to someone else, something else about impeachment.
Those are concerns.
Impeachment has been talked about there, and members of parliament have threatened that they are going to file. They are free to file or not to file. We have not seen any impeachment motion. And we're clearly here. If there is any Kenyan who feels has issues with the president, and if you, a member of parliament, cannot file an impeachment motion against the president, then you can file a petition.
Okay, fair enough,
and,
Mr.
and,
Sossion.
and that can be done. So I want to emphasize that in the face of the Constitution and the laws of this country, with respect to governance and with respect to oversight, nobody is a sacred cow, from the president to anyone else. So if an impeachment motion finds its way in parliament, it will gain a life of its own.
Okay, fair enough.
If
Honorable
it is voted for and
fair
approved,
enough, Mr. Sossion.
it will move to the Senate.
Honorable Mungatana,
yes,
you belong to the ruling party, the United Democratic Alliance.
Correct.
And the relationship between the president and his deputy seems to have reached a boiling point.
Yes.
Now, this threatens the unity of the party as well. And the DP said on Sunday in Githurai that if indeed, he is ousted, then UDA is as good as done. Now, what is the party doing in itself? Because the president, Mr. Sossion, is talking about the president not being involved in this. But there are concerns from a section of Kenyans that the president might have a hand and is sort of using the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah. The only legislator who's been linked in the issues of succession and probably angling to be grooming himself to take over from Rigathi Gachagua and has come out to defend the DP is Kiaru MP Ndindi Nyoro, who for a long time many have seen as someone who might be grooming himself or might be being groomed by the head of state to take over come 2032. But from where you sit, as the president kept his promise on defending his deputy, because some of these issues are issues that the president can call his deputy and tell him, listen, you're my deputy, I'm your boss. The way you're going, you seems to be going off limits. Can you do this, readjust here? Why can't the president do that?
Okay, the first question about the president, what he needs to do, me and you are not privy to the private conversations that the president and his deputy have had. So I can honestly say I do not know whether they have had that discussion or not. And probably it is wrong to tell Kenyans anything beyond that. That the two of them, they have their own way of working. Maybe they have discussed, maybe they haven't, but we are not privy to that information. But
are you concerned as a member of the party?
But what I will tell you is that as a senator from Tana River County and from within that party, I am not happy when my people are excluded by his utterances, discriminated upon by his utterances. So I've taken the action that needs to be taken. Now, there's the other issue you've raised about the political party. What is it doing? I think we have a very capable Secretary General now who is sitting in that office. He's an experienced man, former senator, currently serving in the Parliament of East Africa. And he's been there. He's been there with William Ruto for many years. I believe that the party's disciplinary structure must be mulling over these matters. If they believe that something needs to be done, again, that is not a decision within my purview. It is a decision within the purview of the Secretary General and that setup of disciplinary action in the party. But I want to say something. I want to ask Kenyans to think about this. Next time we're having a new constitutional dispensation, or when there's a need for now to amend a constitution and we have agreed as Kenyans, we need to remove the position of deputy president. We need to remove the position of deputy governors. Why? Because the constitutional structure as it is now creates the wrong impression that instead of being a deputy governor, I'm a co-governor. Instead of being a deputy president, I'm a co-president. We should remove these positions. And if God will give me life to reach that constitution at this moment, I will be asking that in the event of any incapacity, any issues that arises with the president, then the Chief Justice should hold fort for a period of 120 days to oversee an election. And in the case of governors, the judge who is nearest, presiding nearest county, should be gazetted to take over as he presides over the election of another person. Look at it this way. We used to have assistant ministers. We did away with them under this new constitution. We thought we couldn't live without them, but we live without them. Okay. And why do we need a deputy governor? Why not a deputy senator? You know, why not a deputy MP? Now, if these people, we can replace them through mechanisms, why did we make the mistake of creating a deputy county boss and a deputy national boss? Okay. I think this is bringing a lot of manenos, and I would be supporting the thinking that we get rid of this, like we got rid of assistant ministers and we lived. I submit.
Fair enough. Before we just get feedback from what Kenyans do say in regards to this conversation, and give you a chance to give your final submissions, Wakili, I just want to ask you. There are concerns from a section of Kenyans that this as well could be a diversionary tactic to divert attention from what is happening in the country at the moment in regards to all these deals being done. And you talked about Adani and all that. From where you sit, do you think that could be one of the plots as well?
Of course. That's why I said, if you are genuine in this conversation, if Kenya Kwanza were genuine, that Rigathi Gachagua has done something that warrants impeachment, there's nothing that he has done that William Ruto has not done. In fact, William Ruto has done far much more, worse to the people of Kenya. And I gave examples. So if you are about good governance, about the people of Kenya, and you are saying you want to hold our president or presidency accountable, we will start with William Ruto. We look into his character. And I gave an example. Someone who is just talking to villagers, telling them, Siji Murima, and another one who is giving members of parliament employment letters to perambulate with in their constituencies. Who should we be discussing? We should be discussing that one who is causing economic pain to the people.
Okay.
So I do believe that Kenyans should not even bother with this Kenya Kwanza conversation about impeaching Rigathi Gachagua. We cancelled these people on 25th of June. They are just occupying space, but they're not representing the interest of this nation. So even their conversation is not about us. Okay. It's just about themselves, trying to reorganize themselves. Okay. As we are in a situation where Kenyans are looking forward to a day when we will have an administration that responds to the needs of the people of Kenya, not trying to rearrange the political room for politicians to sit.
Okay, fair enough. Let's just take 2, 3 views from what our viewers do say. And that is from Cleophas Malala, and like I read it earlier on, he says his son and his 19-year-old brother-in-law were abducted at gunpoint. They were tortured for 6 hours, and they were, they wanted them to disclose his whereabouts and that of his wife, to show them the way to his residence in Kitengela. After failing to find him or the spouse at home, they dumped the two along Thika Road. He has picked them, and they are safe but traumatized and shaken. Very sad state of affairs. Now, David Makali says Mungatana's proposed motion of censure against DP Gachagua is a most egregious attempt to divert public attention from the damning Adani scam. It is a hopeless distraction. Let's just take the next one. John Indiatsi says, we just need to weave the two narratives together and demand Waende Wote. They came as a package, and so they should exit. The last one, before we give a final submission, Sam Kahuro says 2 impeachment motions will be tabled shortly. Rigathi must go. Now, gentlemen, 30 seconds kindly each. Starting with you, Mr. Sosion. What next for Gachagua?
Well, I cannot predict what next, but a fact of the matter is, and we are talking about governance and streamlining and strengthening governance in this country, the National Assembly or the Senate decides to impeach any Kenyan for whatever reason, it is well within the law, it is well within the Constitution. And that will be done on the basis of facts of law and facts of the Constitution. So I don't think it will be anything to do with any witch hunt. If you are innocent, you will be acquitted by that process. If not, then you will be pained. And number 2, the business of trying to attach the president to the same is wrong.
You're out of order.
Isaac Newton's third law says to every action there is an opposite and equal reaction. So I think the Deputy President should take a step behind and ask, what is this reaction? Why is everything like this? And make corrections.
Okay.
And hopefully we will then move forward to really deal with the issues before us.
Okay, fair enough. Wakili.
Kenya Kwanza should give us a break. Let's focus the conversation in this country about the welfare of the people of Kenya, about our economy. They can do their conversation on how to organize their house on their own, on the side there, without hogging the public discourse and the space that distracts us from what the people of Kenya need.
Now, thank you very much, Wakili. Thank you very much, Honorable Mungatana. Thank you very much, Mr. Sosion, for making time. Of course, bone of contention here is whether the Deputy President and the President should both be impeached. Question is, what will be coming next? Will the Deputy President and his impeachment motion that is set to be tabled see the light of day or not? Thank you very much for making time to be with us. See you again tomorrow. Coming up next will be Remy Majala with Morning Vibe. Do have yourself a wonderful day, and like always, God bless.